Nothing like calling somebody part of an axis of evil to get them acting like part of an axis of evil. Our third story in the countdown tonight, North Korea, the first member of the axis of evil to hold simultaneous membership in the nuclear club. North Korea's first nuclear test yesterday, coming 6 years after President Bush took office and decided to drop the Clinton administration policy of engagement with the government of Kim Jong-il. A policy that, as reported 3 years ago by the British newspaper The Guardian and also by Fortune magazine, included the sale of 2 nuclear reactors made by a European company called ABB in 2000. ABB's board of directors throughout the 90s and through 2000 included one Donald Rumsfeld. In the 6 years since then, Mr. Bush has refused to engage directly with North Korea, instead trusting communist China to safeguard America's vital interests. China, one of the few countries in regular contact with North Korea, it has consistently failed to dampen the nuclear ambitions of the North Korean dictator. Today, Mr. Bush showed no sign of recognizing that his signature policy of alienating and antagonizing North Korea has somehow failed to produce settlement.
The United States condemns this provocative act. Once again, North Korea has defied the will of the international community, and the international community will respond.
The Clinton administration had a North Korea policy coordinator as a special advisor to the president from 1997 until the end of Mr. Clinton's term. That was Ambassador Wendy Sherman. Ambassador Sherman joins us now. Many thanks for your time tonight.
Good to be with you, Keith.
If self-fulfilling prophecy might be too strong a term for this, is the sense of shock and outrage on this administration's part also inappropriate? How could anybody not have seen this coming?
Well, I quite agree with you. The administration should have seen this coming. In fact, when President Bush took office, we were in the middle of a very intense negotiation to stop the development of missiles in North Korea, and missiles are important because they deliver nuclear weapons. And the Bush administration decided not to pick up the cards we'd left on the table, even though Colin Powell at the time thought they were pretty good. He got overruled by the President of the United States, as we know, when he sent him out in the middle of a press conference to say, nope, we're not going to follow Clinton, anything but Clinton. And as a result of that, we now have a 400% increase in the amount of plutonium and the number of nuclear weapons that North Korea has under the Bush administration policy.
In Bob Woodward's State of Denial, the candidate, George Bush, is quoted as asking the Arabian Prince Bandar in June of 2000, why should I care about North Korea? Why did he not care? And other than the obvious change of the world here today, why should we care now?
It's very hard for Americans to imagine they should be worried about North Korea. Most people don't know where it is. It's led by a rather strange leader that people don't understand. There's no oil. There appears to be no immediate impact on people's lives. But if North Korea has nuclear weapons, several things, and they do, several things are going to happen. There may be a nuclear arms race on the Korean Peninsula. That means Japan may decide it needs nuclear weapons. Might be that South Korea decides they need nuclear weapons. I don't think the world needs more nuclear weapons. And more importantly, North Korea, now that it has 4, 6, 8, 10 nuclear weapons, can test them, but they can also sell them. They may also not be secure enough, and terrorists might get hold of them or the fissile material for those nuclear weapons. And I think we'd all agree there's nothing more terrifying for Americans than terrorists with their hands on a nuclear weapon.
2 years ago, let me play this clip here. Mr. Bush rejected his opponent's advocacy of direct U.S. talks with North Korea.
We began a new dialogue with North Korea, one that included not only the United States but now China, and China's got a lot of influence over North Korea. In some ways more than we do. As well, we included South Korea, Japan, and Russia, so now there are 5 voices speaking to Kim Jong-il, not just one. And so if Kim Jong-il decides again to not honor an agreement, he's not only doing injustice to America, he'd be doing injustice to China as well. And I think this will work. It's not going to work if we open up a dialogue with Kim Jong-il.
So 2 years after I think this will work, North Korea has tested its first nuclear device. What happened and what conceivably positive could happen next?
Well, there's no doubt that it's good to have many voices, as we did during the Clinton administration, telling North Korea this isn't the way to go. But North Korea, at the end of the day, wants regime survival, and they think the only country that can guarantee that is the last remaining superpower, the United States. And so they want direct engagement with North Korea and the United States. And although ultimately President Bush did finally break down and allow a very able negotiator, Chris Hill, to have a direct conversation in the middle of those 6-party talks, Ambassador Hill had nothing in his pocket, and you cannot negotiate with nothing. Now we're in a very difficult place because we have gone very deep in the hole, and that isn't just those nuclear weapons and that blast today. It is about how we get out of this. And after the condemnations and after the sanctions, all of which are necessary because North Korea has to know there are consequences, ultimately we have to get back to talks, and somewhere in there, somehow, there have to be direct talks with the United States.
Is a blockade feasible, or that would just make it worse?
I think that is one of the sanctions that's going to be in front of the Security Council. The blockade is not going to stop North Korea from transferring nuclear weapons if it decides it wants to. Plutonium can be the size of an orange. You can put it in a suitcase and take it across a border. You don't need a ship coming out of a port to do that. So although the Proliferation Security Initiative, as the Bush administration policy is called, is a useful technique, it's not going to stop North Korea from having its nuclear weapons and transferring some of that technology if they want to.
Ambassador Wendy Sherman, great thanks for your perspective and your time tonight.
Thank you.
Quick note about another administration bogeyman. Cuba's acting leader today denying a report in Time magazine that President Fidel Castro has contracted cancer, terminal cancer, and will not return to power. Castro handed over power, supposedly temporarily, to his brother Raul in July. This week's Time quoting a U.S. official saying Castro will not be coming back. He had intestinal surgery in late July. Cuba has not released specifics about the ailment. His brother today said Castro is, quote, not dying and is, in fact, quote, getting better all the time, working more every day.